So before I start with the presentation, we're in the graveyard shift of the day. So I'm going to ask everybody to stand up because it's important. I need to get the blood flowing back to the brain. This is an important presentation. So everybody needs to stand up and put your hands high up, stretch. Feel the backbone stretching. Right? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Right. At the moment, the prasadam has gone past the stomach and into the intestine. So I need the blood. Like I say, there's blood sitting in the legs and there's blood sitting in the intestine. I need the blood to go back to the brain. Okay? Because without that, you're not going to get the message, and this very important message that we have to talk about regarding BTG. So we've heard it mentioned earlier on that BTG is the backbone of the Hare Krishna movement. And I'm going to speak a little bit about what's happened with BTG since the last conference and what's going to happen going forward. So at the last conference, there was a resolution taken in Durban in 2015 to increase the distribution of Back to Godhead magazine by 20%. Okay. At the time, if you look at our scorecard, which will be coming up soon, you'll be able to see what that 20% means and what the numbers mean. After that conference, and building on what had been discussed previously at the International BTG AGM, BTG Africa resolved on a 3-year plan. Okay. It was a 3-pronged approach that looked at the subscription model that we in South Africa are very familiar with, a donation model, and an agency model. And we built a BTG team around that model. Okay. Our 2016 focus was on the subscription model and building the relationship with temples. It was creating a presence at Rath Yatras and at the different temple programs and to try and grow the subscriber base. Our 2017 focus was on establishing a donor funding program, okay, an alternative way of distributing BTG. And this was to arrange placement of sponsored magazines. We had well-wishers who would be willing to sponsor magazines, and BTG would then arrange the placement of those magazines. And our 2018 focus was to build on the previous 2 programs and to encourage BTG distribution as part of normal book distribution that goes out. So going forward from that plan, we're going to look first a little bit at the subscription focus and what has happened. Over 2016, I visited I think almost all of the centers or most of the centers in South Africa. And there were various challenges we've encountered with the subscription model. Firstly, it's primarily restricted to South Africa. Very few places elsewhere in Africa have the financial systems that we have to ensure that we have a successful subscription program via a debit order system. Okay? It is dependent on the temples for engagement. And I've been around and I've asked temple management to give me slots to speak at different programs and different festivals in order to promote BTG and what's been happening with BTG. But again, it is very much dependent on the temple and if there's a slot available on that festival program. Temple management is often distracted with the operational aspects of temples. They're distracted with festivals and Sunday programs and maintenance of buildings and everything else. And therefore, BTG is not considered a priority program in many centers in South Africa and in Africa. BTG teams are often fragmented or poorly organized. We have BTG teams, a 1-person BTG team, or a family of 3 or 4 who distribute BTG to the congregation. We have BTGs that sit around in gift shops, waiting for donors to come and pick it up. There's lots of different stories about BTG, but it's not considered a priority program. We have limited ownership or accountability, because it's always dependent on whether or not this person is available to do the service or not, or what is happening. So our back office function is actually very bad. And we have limited donor relationship management. Okay? We don't engage with our donors often enough. Very few of us, or very few temples will send a birthday message or a thank you when there's a sponsorship, or ask someone, are you still receiving your BTG? Your banking details have changed. Can we update your banking details? Can we increase your subscription? So there's very limited donor relationship management that we see. And that is reflected in the African BTG scorecard. This is what has been happening since 2015. And at the beginning of 2015, we were sitting at about 6,400 magazines. So that has since dropped to where we're sitting now at 5,958 magazines. Okay, if you want to know the statistics behind it, it is equivalent from 2015, the average for the year was 6,000, just over 6,500. 2016, it dropped, and 2017, it dropped further, less 4%, 2015 to 16, less 7%, 2016 to 2017. That is across Africa. And that only constitutes 4 countries out of 54 countries where we distribute BTG. Looking at South Africa, because we have a very South African audience here today, and where we're sitting with South African BTG. The statistics, in 2015, average distribution was just over 5,700, and we're currently sitting at 5,379. Less 2%, 2015 to 2016, less 4%, 2016 to 2017. Okay? Our resolution was to increase by 20%. But it is, the other update is that it's not all doom and gloom. So even though overall as a continent, as a country, we haven't met the target that we set for ourselves, the good news is that we have 4 new centers that have started a BTG program. Okay? Following the conference, just after that, Escott and Newcastle came on board. The Goshala came on board last year, and our newest BTG center is East London. Now, these centers are small, but they've realized that there is a benefit to doing BTG distribution. Overall in South Africa, in terms of our temples and what's been happening, of the 16 temples, 9 have decreased their ordering numbers, 4 have increased, and 3 have remained constant. Okay? And our success story. So at this point, I'm going to call Radhakun Mataji to come up to speak a little bit about Midrand and what has happened at Midrand. One temple in Africa that decided to set a target and achieve that target. So at the start of 2016, Midrand was distributing 19 magazines, 14 were for revenue, 1 came to the temple every month. At the beginning of the year, they set a target of 108 for the year because they were starting off very small. They reached that target in the first week of October of that year. Okay? Their final tally at the end of 2016 was 135. There's various reasons for their success, and Mataji will speak about that a little bit more.
Hare Krishna. So right at the outset, I'd like to say that I was always an introvert. I'm not exactly a public speaker. Last year around February, my husband Damodar Prabhu told me, Radhakun, we need someone to assist the Midrand Temple with Back to Godhead magazine subscriptions. So I had never done Back to Godhead magazine distributions. I had never distributed a book, and I declined. So he told me, Radhakun, you need to do the needful and get on with the service. So I heard what Brajabasi Prabhu said, ISKCON is a pushing movement. So Damodar used, well, not exactly pushing, but some gentle persuasion. So when I started with the Back to Godhead subscription program, I learned very quickly that the first thing I needed was what Srila Prabhupada called utsaha, enthusiasm. And then I needed to rise above planning and get to the second stage of doing, making the endeavor, and then having the faith that Guru and Srila Prabhupada will give me the mercy and empower me to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's desire to do Back to Godhead magazine subscriptions and book distribution. So it's been quite a journey. It's been actually funny at times, intense, sad. I've realized one thing, that we are dealing with human beings, and human beings have needs. And it's one thing that, yes, our increase in subscriptions has helped Midrand Temple with much needed funds, but there's another very, very important aspect, and that is getting the magazine to the donors. So I've had like various feedback from donors where they tell me how it has changed their lives. I've had funny incidences. like last year during our BTG drive at Janmashtami festival, there was a young gentleman that came to finally sign up for a subscription. I had been using gentle persuasion for over 6 months, and here he was. He eventually signed up and he said, Mataji, I'm a proud subscriber of a BTG Magazine. So I jokingly told him, I says, Prabhu, why don't you go run down this aisle and say, yay, I'm a proud BTG subscriber. So to my shock, I saw he actually did this. And then I saw some of the people were turning, looking at him, and I saw this really serious-looking gentleman stand up from his seat, and I thought, oh, Radha-kun, you put your foot in it. So he comes up to the table, still very serious, and he says, where is the form? I also want to subscribe. And then Srila Prabhupada, once, I can't remember who he had written to, and he had written to this devotee and said, you talk about these obstacles. What are these obstacles? With a single stroke of a kick, I can kick out any obstacles. So the one day I had started a conversation with a potential BTG subscriber over the phone, and I suddenly had a wheezing attack. And it's like a cough. The more you try to stifle a wheeze, the more it comes out. Eventually, the gentleman tells me, no, don't talk anymore, don't stress. I'll SMS you my email address and I'll sign up. So I thought, okay, it's probably a fob off, but anyway, the next day I did the needful. And here was Srila Prabhupada's mercy. He subscribed for 2 magazines. And then there's a very intense moment. One of the BTG subscribers experienced a death of a very dear and loved one. So when I went, when he saw me, he says, Radha-kun, I'm trying to think of Krishna, but I can't stop crying. But I was waiting for you to come. I was waiting to see your face, and I knew that when you will speak to me, you will remind me of Krishna. This really touched me, and I realized that surely this has got to be a greater task that we do with BTG distribution more than the money, that we are touching people's lives. We are actually, each and every one of us are actually the ambassadors to Krishna consciousness. We are ambassadors to Srila Prabhupada's mission. And that we get empowered by Srila Prabhupada's mercy to touch these souls, even at their most intense and the most difficult periods. So my inspiration also comes from the subscribers themselves when they liaise with me, contact me, and they themselves bring in more subscriptions, more subscribers. I have total strangers contacting me and say, so-and-so has referred me to you. Please, I'd also like to be part of this venture. I've had a person that contacted me and said, Auntie Radha, they call me everything, Mrs. Kund, Mrs. Radha, Radhe, or Auntie Radha. Please keep me in your list for ventures like this. Don't forget me. Put me on your list and contact me. I want to be part of this. So this is such a wonderful way to reach out to the souls. I feel that Srila Prabhupada has been extremely merciful. He has allowed me to be an instrument in this wonderful opportunity of BTG subscriptions and book distribution. And Srila Prabhupada has been my greatest inspiration. A lot of times when I feel things get too intense, Damodar reminds me, Radha-kun, who are you doing this for? And I think of Srila Prabhupada when he came to the West. And he prayed to Krishna with total surrender and says, "Oh my Lord, now that you've brought me here, make me dance as you like." And I think, so much endeavor, so much austerity Srila Prabhupada made for us, just for us to get out of this miserable cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. This is a small gesture that we can make to Srila Prabhupada with his BTG and book distribution. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada, for empowering me and for letting me be an instrument. Hare Krishna.
So as you can see, it can be done. Midrand set a target for 2017 of 200 magazines to increase their target because they're a very small team. So they had set that target. And before we came for the conference, I got the latest ordering figures. And Midrand, for November-December issue, they've ordered 220 magazines. So 2015 to 2016, where Midrand finished off at the end of 2015 and where they ended off at 2016, they went from 20 to 120 to 220, 400% increase 2016, 83% increase overall from 2015 to the start, 1,000% increase. It can be done when you have the drive to do it. So across Africa, we have a whole range of activities that we engaged in. We've been liaising with temple presidents. We've been having different road shows. We have up-to-date statistics now. So at any point, if anyone wants to know what's happening at their temple, I have all of the data. We've educated local BTG teams. We've enhanced donor relationship management where possible and given temples ideas of what it is they can do to improve their donor relationship. We've obtained a local calendar of events where we attend different events and we help to promote BTG. We've developed country-specific activities to create awareness in other parts of Africa. We're encouraging the distribution of BTG at other festivals, not just to the devotee community. We have regular electronic contact, and we're trying to physically visit these different centers across Africa at least once in 3 years. We provide outreach in the form of old magazines whenever it is needed. And we've been supporting local BTG drives with banners at their marathons, whatever programs that they have. So the next part, or the second prong in 2017 focus, was the donor funding focus that we looked at. And here, through BTG Shastradhan, we've been able to place magazines across South Africa in a variety of centers. And these are all places that we physically visited. Some member of our team has visited and distributed magazines and tried to encourage the local devotees. And in Africa, we've done Ghana, Mauritius, and Namibia. It's the first time BTG has gone to Namibia. We also have a prison distribution. And in our prisons, we have a program where we send 1,000 BTG magazines to prisons across South Africa that get placed. Those are the different regions where those magazines are being placed. From the BTG Shastradhan, when we started in 2015, we were sitting at 250 magazines for the year. 2016, we've distributed 1,125. And in 2017, to date, as of today, we've distributed 2,620 magazines with another shipment of 1,000 magazines to go off to the prisons before the end of the year. Again, we've achieved our target of 20% distribution of BTG magazines. And we're hoping that will go over 1,000% by the end of the year. BTG in 2018, and where we're going with this program, is that internationally, they're looking at a decentralized printing model for BTG, and we want African content in our magazines. But in order for us to generate local content, we need local writers. Okay? We need people on the ground to tell us what is happening in Africa and to get your article into the Back to Godhead magazine. From an Africa perspective, we are continuing with management engagement. BTG has become a standing item on the South African National Council agenda. So we present every month and we send them quarterly reports of what the statistics look like. We're continuing with our Shastradhan, but we require devotees who travel in Africa. So anyone who's going to anywhere in Africa that there is a center, please contact me and I will give you a pack of 25 magazines or 50 magazines or however much space you have in your luggage to take to the local temple there. Because a big problem we have in Africa is actually getting the magazines to them. We'll provide BTG presentations and workshops as required. So if anyone wants to know about BTG, wants to know how to sign up BTG subscribers, we can arrange workshops like that. And we're looking for a shared services model for the back office distribution of Back to Godhead, which is the postage and packaging and the distribution of magazines. In 2016, at the beginning of last year, BTG International resolved to double BTG distribution by 2020. For Africa, it means going from 6,000 to 12,000 magazines being distributed per issue, and that was where Project 12,000 was coined, because we needed to double what we were doing. We are slowly getting there, and we aim to get there by 2020, but we need all of you to become involved in BTG. So I like this saying, and this is from 1988, from an editorial that Satsvarup Maharaj had written as to why is Back to Godhead magazine the way it is. And Maharaj says that as for the magazine becoming increasingly popular, that is a challenge given by Srila Prabhupada and one we haven't fully met. Back to Godhead has always been distributed by members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So the number of magazines they distribute monthly is some indication of the health of the Hare Krishna movement. Sometimes devotees distribute 800,000 a month, and sometimes as few as 20,000. Okay, we want to get to that 20,000 mark. So 12,000 for us in South Africa, internationally 20,000, 30,000, whatever it is. We need to increase distribution. This was Srila Prabhupada's magazine. Before there was books, there was BTG. It was the first publication that Srila Prabhupada had started when he was still a Grihastha. It is our responsibility to continue with Prabhupada's magazine. This is our team, and our team is all sitting on that side. I'm going to ask my team to stand up, because this is not just one person's success. Robert Prabhu, Niresh Prabhu, Akina Mataji, and Tirumala Mataji. This is my team, and if you see them anywhere, please stop them and ask them for BTG magazines, okay? Ask them how it is that the BTG Africa team can serve you. We are all here to help you increase BTG at your local temple. Thank you.